The Martin family comprised of Kenneth and Barbara and their 4 children. The first of their children, Donald, was 28 at the time of the disappearance, but he had moved from the family home, and was residing in New York where he worked in the U.S. Navy. Their second child was Barbara, who also went by the name Barbie. She was 14 at the time of the disappearance and attended Grant High School. Their third child was Virginia, who was 13 at the time of the disappearance. She attended Rose City College with the couple's youngest child, Susan. Susan was 11 at the time of the disappearance. The family resided at 1715 NE 56th Avenue in the Roseway neighborhood of Northeast Portland, and they were described by those who knew them as a very happy family. The evening before their disappearance on the 6th December 1958, Kenneth and Barbara had attended a family friend's home for a Sunday roast. When asked about their plans for the next day, the couple informed everyone they were going out to find greenery for the children to make Christmas decorations. Kenneth was also believed to have said, "Better do as planned." The following morning, police believe the family woke up and had breakfast together. The family then climbed into Kenneth's 1954 cream and red Ford Country Squire station wagon and headed out to find the greenery they needed. Witnesses recall the family leaving around 1 p.m. This was not suspicious to begin with, but many reported that Kenneth did not like driving in the dark, and so it was questioned why he left so late on a cold winter's night. It is believed that the family were heading to the Columbia River Gorge. Numerous witnesses stated that they had seen the family on the north bank of the Columbia River. They reported that Kenneth was wearing a tan zip-up jacket and dark slacks. Barbara was wearing a navy blue coat, plaid jacket and black print dress. Barbie was wearing jeans and a beige coat. At around 4 p.m., Dean Baxter, a gas station worker, reported that the family stopped at his gas station and purchased 5 gallons of gasoline. The location of the shop was in Cascade Locks, around 40 miles from the family's home. He stated that after paying, Kenneth got back into the car and headed east. 2 weeks after, the credit card statement for the petrol arrived at the family home, confirming that the family had definitely visited here. Shortly after this sighting, waitress Clara York reported to the police that she had served the family at around 5 p.m. at the Paradise snack bar in Hood River. She later reported that the family were smiling and happy and that they ordered burger and fries. The following day, Kenneth failed to show up for work at Eccles Electric Home Service Company. His employer, Taylor Eccles, found this suspicious. Kenneth had never taken a day off work without informing him, and so Taylor decided to contact the police. By this point, others had reported the children missing from school. After the 911 call, local police decided to head to the Martin family home to investigate if they were there. Upon arriving, the police found that the washing machine was still loaded with clothes, the breakfast bowls were on the drying rack, and a Santa outfit hung over the back of the sofa. Kenneth dressed as Santa in the lead up to Christmas to surprise the local children. When the family did not return home, both Multnomah County and Hood River County police began to investigate where the family could be. It was concluded from the offset that the Martin family had no reason to run away, and so a missing persons appeal was immediately launched. As police took the gas station worker and the waitress's statements, the police were able to establish a route that had been taken between the two by the family. It was quickly into the investigation that police recovered a stolen white Chevrolet stolen from California. Although it was odd for the car to be located in Cascade Locks over 700 miles away from where the car was stolen, the police decided that the car was not linked to the disappearance. The following day, police arrested and charged Roy Light and another unnamed man for the theft of the Chevrolet. Both men had previously been in jail and in a strange turn of events had been in the snack bar at the same time as the Martin family. The waitress reported the two men had left at the same time as the family. However, police did not investigate further if the two men were involved in the disappearance of the family. However, just a few days later, a man out in the woods discovered a .38 Colt Commander handgun in a bush close to the stolen Chevrolet. Bonnie Cox, the wife of the man who found the gun, later recalled that the handle of the gun was covered in dried blood and looked as though it had been used to hit someone. The gun was immediately handed over to the police, however it was never logged in the list of evidence. Further investigation in the years following traced the gun to a Meyer and Frank department store. It was discovered that in the years before the murder, the Martin's son, Donald, had been accused of stealing the exact same gun when working in the sports department of a Meyer and Frank store. Although Donald was in New York at the time of his family's disappearance, he was seen as a suspect. Family and friends reported that Donald had a strained relationship with his parents. It was also suspicious that at the time of his family's disappearance, Donald did not return home to join the search for his family and instead stayed at the New York Navy base. He was subsequently interviewed over the phone. With still no sighting of the family, the police decided to question and inquire with those who lived in the area. One witness came forward to state that he had seen a man and woman walking close to the canyon gathering greenery on the 7th December. A week later, he then reported that a flock of buzzards were flying in the same area as where he had seen the couple. Police searched this area, but nothing was found. On the 28th December, a woman's glove was discovered in another bush, close to where the Chevrolet had been parked. It was determined by one of Barbara's family friends that it was a glove she would wear, but it could not be concluded if the glove were actually hers. Again, on the 31st December, a man reported that he had seen the family's car speeding along the freeway. Police instantly rushed to the cited location, but they could find no evidence that the family had been there. Police also received a report from a witness who stated they had seen the family parked up at Trotter's Point. They recalled a Christmas tree located on top of the car and that two young men were speaking to the driver of a car similar to the Martin family's. Martin's acreage was locally situated and sold Christmas trees. When police interviewed the owners, they stated that they had seen the family there. However, the lead could not be verified. By the beginning of 1959, the police were no closer to understanding what had happened to the Martin family. By February 1959, police and large groups of volunteers had searched numerous areas in Greater Portland, Mount Hood and Cascade Locks, but no further evidence had been found. However, one search by volunteers did finally discover tire tracks leading off a cliff in the Dells. Police were called to the scene and the tire tracks were analyzed. It was concluded that the tracks were the same as the Martin family's car. Further investigation also discovered flecks of paint that was known to be the same make and model of their car. With this new lead, the police decided to lower the river by 5 feet. Sonar technology was also brought in, and scanned over the river close to where the tracks were located. However, no car was ever discovered, and police were back to square one. Again, the case fell cold until May 1959. On the 1st May 1959, a river drilling rig was in the river close to where the tracks were found when the anchor locked onto something heavy. Work had to be halted while workers went to dislodge the object. However, as they inspected, they realized the object had dislodged itself. What they next saw was described as 2 bundles of cloth that then drifted down the river. It was early the next morning, on the 2nd May, when a fisherman and his wife noticed a body in the river at Cascade Locks. Police rushed to the river and located Susan's body on the 3rd. It was located in Cascade Locks 70 miles from the Dells. Virginia's body was found on the 4th. Her body was 46 miles west of the Dells. The bodies of the 2 girls was badly decomposed and was identified by dental records. Both of the girls' bodies were sent to Multnomah County for autopsies. One individual reported that the girls both had bullet holes in their head, but this would prove to be false. Autopsies found that the girls had both eaten fries 2 hours before their death. The waitress had mentioned serving the family fries at around 4:30–5 p.m. and so time of death was placed at around 6 to 7 p.m. The cause of death was established as drowning. Further examination of the bodies also reported that Susan had traces of metal on her clothes that could potentially be on her clothes because of rust from a car. It was shortly after the discovery of the bodies that the sheriff of Hood County, Rupert Gilmuth, concluded that he believed the oil rig had overturned the Martins' car and dislodged the 2 girls' bodies. With this conclusion, it was decided to search the area the rig had first encountered the weight. Searches began with sonar and helicopter searches, but when this turned up nothing, it was decided that a team of experienced divers would go into the waters and search for the car. It should be noted that the river was 160 feet deep in some places and powerful currents constantly shifted the river. Therefore, because of this, the investigation was soon cancelled after one diver nearly died. With this operation too dangerous to complete, police leads were culled. The daily coverage of the disappearance in the Oregonian and Oregon Journal had dried up and little to no leads were coming through in connection with the disappearance. One of the final leads the police received was in 1961, when an anonymous individual wrote a letter to the Oregon Journal stating that they had been parked with a companion when they saw the family's car travel under the railroad. Shortly after, they heard screaming and rushed to the scene. However, when there, they found nothing. Many believe that on the 7th December, Kenneth and the family had been driving close to the Dalles. Due to it being winter, the nights were dark by 5 p.m. and so it was hard for Kenneth to drive in the dark. At some point in the drive, Kenneth lost control of the car and ended up driving over the cliffs and into the river. This would explain the tire tracks and the cause of death being as drowning. Again, roads were not developed as much as today. Multnomah County, however, believe foul play was involved. Those who analyzed the tracks determined that the tracks looked like the car had been deliberately pushed from the cliffs. However, there is no suspects or motives except the car thieves. However, if they had wanted the family's car, why would they push them over the cliff? Walter Groven, a Portland detective, wrote that Donald was a suspect as only one with a motive and that the family was met with foul play. He also wrote that the murders would be solved once the car was found. It is believed that a select amount of people believe the family was pulled over and forced to drive over the edge. The reasoning for this is because of the gun discovered close to the stolen car. The gun was established to have been Donald's, therefore it is possible that the gun was now in Kenneth's possession, and if this was the case, why did he feel the need to use the gun and why was it covered in blood? Again, if someone else was in the possession of the gun, it is too much of a coincidence for the gun of the son to turn up in the exact area the family were last sighted. As of today, Kenneth, Barbara and Barbie's bodies have not been found. The family car has also not been found, but is believed to be situated somewhere in the river. The murder of the Lawson family refers to a familicide which took place in Germantown, North Carolina, United States on December 25, 1929, in which sharecropper Charles Davis Charlie Lawson murdered his wife and 6 of his 7 children. In 1911, Charles Lawson married Fanny Manring, with whom he had 8 children. The third, William, born in 1914, died of an illness in 1920. In 1924, following the move of his younger brothers, Marion and Elijah, to the Germantown area, Lawson followed suit with his family. The Lawsons worked as tenant tobacco farmers, saving enough money by 1927 to buy their own farm on Brook Cove Road. In 1929, shortly before Christmas, Lawson, age 43, took Fanny, his wife, age 37, and their 7 children, Marie, age 17, Arthur, age 16, Carrie, age 12, Mabel, age 7, James, age 4, Raymond, age 2, and Mary Lou, age 4 months, into town to buy new clothes and to have a family portrait taken. This would have been an uncommon occurrence for a working-class rural family of the era, which has led to speculations that Lawson's act was premeditated. Lawson's having purchased his own farm 2 years previous, however, together with the fact that an Associated Press wire that went out on the day after the murders characterized Lawson as a well-to-do farmer, would make a pre-Christmas shopping spree appear reasonable. On the afternoon of December 25, Lawson first shot his daughters, Carrie and Mabel, as they were setting out to their uncle and aunt's house. He waited for them by the tobacco barn until they were in range, shot them with a 12-gauge shotgun, then ensured that they were dead by bludgeoning them. He placed the bodies in the tobacco barn. Afterwards, Lawson returned to the house and shot Fanny, who was on the porch. As soon as the gun was fired, Marie, who was inside, screamed, while the 2 small boys, James and Raymond, attempted to find a hiding place. Lawson shot Marie, and then found and killed the 2 boys. Lastly, he killed the baby, Mary Lou. It is thought that she was bludgeoned to death. After the murders, he went into the nearby woods and, several hours later, shot himself. The only survivor was his eldest son, 16-year-old Arthur, whom he had sent on an errand, just before committing the crime. The bodies of the family members were found with their arms crossed and rocks under their heads. The gunshot signaling Lawson's own suicide was heard by the many people who already had learned of the murders on the property, and gathered there. A police officer who was with Arthur ran down to discover Lawson's body along with letters to his parents. As footprints encircled the tree, it was supposed that he had been pacing around the tree prior to taking his life. Police and the public were trying to figure out the movie or motives as to why Charles murdered his family. 2 such motives that was thought to be were naked was Charles's head injury, and the other was a rumored incestuous relationship between father and daughter. Motive 1. Months before the event, Lawson had sustained a head injury. Some family and friends theorized that it had altered his mental state and was related to the massacre. However, an autopsy and analysis of his brain at Johns Hopkins Hospital found no abnormalities. Motive 2. It was not until the book White Christmas, Bloody Christmas was published in 1990 that a claim of Charlie sexually abusing Marie surfaced, beginning with an anonymous source who heard a rumor during a tour of the Lawson home shortly after the murders. The day before the book was to be published, the author received a phone call from Stella Lawson, a relative who had already been interviewed for the book. Stella said that she had overheard Fanny's sisters-in-law and aunts, including Stella's mother Jetty Lawson, discussing how Fanny had confided in them that she had been concerned about an incestuous relationship between Charlie and Marie. Jetty died in early 1928, meaning Fanny had been suspicious of the incest, at least that long before the murders in late 1929. More support for this theory was revealed in The Meaning of Our Tears, published by the same author in 2006. A close friend of Marie Lawson's, Ella May, came forward and disclosed that a few weeks before Christmas 1929, Marie confided in her that she was pregnant by her own father, and that both he and Fanny knew about this. Another close friend and neighbor to the Lawson family, Bill Hampton, stated that he knew of serious problems going on within the family, but declined to elaborate. Shortly after the murders, Charlie's brother, Marion Lawson, opened the home on Brook Cove Road as a tourist attraction. A cake that Marie had baked on Christmas Day was displayed on the tour. Because visitors began to pick at the raisins on the cake to take as souvenirs, it was placed in a covered glass cake server for many years. The event inspired a number of songs and other tributes, including the murder ballad, The Murder of the Lawson Family, which was recorded by the Stanley Brothers in March 1956. The case was also featured in an episode of the PRX podcast Criminal. The Lawsons were laid to rest in a family graveyard, established in 1908, originally for the use of the W.D. Browder family and selected friends and neighbors. Today, it is open for burials only for direct descendants of W.D. Browder, owing to limited plot availability. Arthur Lawson was killed in a 1945 motor accident, age 32, leaving a wife and 4 children.